Hi, I'm Greg Campbell with Fortis Pilates. Today I'm going to show you how to open up one of our crates of Pilates equipment. So I've got here a crate for a Pilates chair. If you have a reformer, it's going to be the exact same crate. It's just going to wind up being a little bit longer. So what you're going to need a flathead screwdriver, the longer the better, and a pair of pliers. So the way these crates are put together, you're going to want to take the lid off first. Now that's the goal of the exercise here, is to get the lid off. And the lid is held on by these little metal clips that go around the perimeter of the lid. And so what you want to do with these metal clips is essentially bend them so they're vertical. And once you've done that, you'll be able to lift the lid off. So what we do is we take our screwdriver and we wedge it in the gap between the metal clip and the frame that's here. And then we wedge that up. And the goal is to make enough space with that we can get our pair of pliers and put our pair of pliers in there and then straighten out that clip. We try to get it as straight up as we can. Okay, so now this clip is no longer holding on this portion of the lid, and we move on to the next clip. So I'll show you this next one a little bit closer up so you can get a better view of how I'm getting these things undone. So once again, I take my flathead screwdriver, I push it into the gap just under the metal clip. I use the screwdriver just to get that clip away from the metal frame. And then take my pliers, put my pliers on the clip, and then I bend the clip up and I get it as straight as I can and I try to work the kinks in the metal clip out as best I can. So now I've got this clip undone as well. Now I'm just going to continue and work myself around the perimeter of the lid, repeating the same process until I have all the clips undone. Okay, so now we have all of our metal clips straightened up, or at least roughly straight. We can start to try to get the lid off. So don't expect the lid is just going to magically lift off, because these are, bent pieces of metal, so they're going to catch a little bit. Usually what I find is the easiest way to do this, you can get rid of your pliers, you won't need those anymore. You take your screwdriver, so you start to pull up the lid, and so it started to come, but it's kind of sticking over here a little bit. So what you can do is, it's kind of like opening a can of paint, right? What you can do is you can put the screwdriver in and use it to sort of lever up a little bit, and then work your way down until you find the spot that's sticking, right? So that one just let go now. That was sticking down here. So I can do the same thing. I work my way around the lid of the crate, and what I'm doing is just prying it up, making sure the little sleeves are going to let go. Well, looks like we're almost there. We got one more sticking around this side. So I'll go over here. Pop him up. There we go. So that lid is free and clear now. All I can do is lift the lid off and I can move it over to the side. Okay, so now we've got our crate open. So we have options here. We can start taking pieces out right now if we want. But the other thing that you can do, and I find it sometimes helpful, is the sides of the crate are actually held on exactly the same as the lid was. And so if you decide that it's going to be easier for you to be able to just get right at the equipment, you can repeat the same process and actually take the crate all the way apart, and you'll be left with the equipment just open with all the sides of the crate gone. So sometimes that helps. I find, especially with the folding reformer, I find it's often useful to take at least one or two of the sides off, so it's easier to get at the folding reformer. For the other ones, I find just having the lid off, it's sufficient. So it's up to you how you want to do that, but at this point you have the crate open and you can start unpacking. Okay, so one last hint. And this hint actually won't apply to this machine because this is a chair. But if you bought one of our non-folding reformers, so that would be a Maple Elite Studio reformer or an Aluminum Elite Studio reformer, what I usually find is the easiest way to get those sort of brought in the house and put where you want them. First of all, don't try to bring the crate in usually, because the crate, it's large, it's heavy, the thing can weigh up to 360 pounds. So you don't want to try to just move that in. The best thing to do is outside, open up the lid as we just did, and then bring in all the pieces. You know, you've got the sitting box, the jump board. If it's a tower machine, you have the tower accessories. Bring all that stuff in, get it where you want it to be. And then what you'll be left with inside the crate is just the reformer frame with the carriage. And the carriage will be attached to the reformer frame just with some plastic wrap to keep it from moving around during shipping. So just cut that plastic wrap, and you can then actually just lift the carriage right off of the frame and bring it inside. And that weighs about 60 pounds, so you get rid of a bunch of a weight that way, right? So just lift up the carriage, bring it inside, and then what you're left with, it's just the wood frame or just the aluminum frame itself, right? And that, if it's a maple machine, that'll weigh about 120 pounds. So you will want somebody to help you bring that inside. That's the piece you definitely need a helper for. But it's actually not too bad maneuvering it with two people, because although it's very long, it's not very wide and it's not very high. So it's pretty easy to stand it on its end and get it around corners, going down stairs, or whatever you need to do. So that's sort of my hint. I've had a lot of people who've asked what's the best way with the reformers to get them inside, and that's the best way. Open the crate outside, bring in all the pieces, take the carriage off, bring that in, and then get a helper, and the two of you bring the frame in and put it where you'd like. So I hope this video has been helpful and answered your questions about how to unpack your new piece of Fortis Pilates equipment.